give a special thank you to everybody who's helped me talk about my passion on Alzheimer's. So thank you to the Shankhu Charitable Trust for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. And thank you all for listening to me talk about my passion. And of course, thank you to the eminent doctors to share their thoughts on and perspective on a huge, huge issue in today's society, which is Alzheimer's. Everybody needs to be more aware about this, and it's like extremely, oka pedda pramadam. So, my name is Rohan Sabbella, and in 2016, my great-grandfather died of Alzheimer's disease. And it was heartbreaking to go and visit him and see his memory slowly degenerate over time. Our first visit, he was forgetting his meals and daily tasks. Our second visit, he was forgetting many cherished and important memories. Our third visit, he forgot who I was, who my mother was, and the rest of my family. And then our fourth visit, he forgot how to swallow. He died shortly after. So what is dementia and what is Alzheimer's disease? Dementia is the progressive degeneration of one's memories, but it also has other cognitive effects. Alzheimer's is one such cause of dementia, which is caused by protein buildups in the brain. There's also many other types of dementias, such as Parkinson's disease dementia, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, which accounts for 20% of all dementia cases, as well as Huntington's disease dementia and frontotemporal dementia. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia and affects many people across the globe. 60% of dementia cases are Alzheimer's, and it affects 50 million people across the entire world. 50 million. On top of that, in 2050, the Alzheimer's cases will increase to 150 million people impacted. So this issue is extremely immense, and it's necessary to be aware of the disease and how to properly treat and prevent the disease. There is no cure for Alzheimer's out currently. There is a lot of drug research in many different countries across the globe and many drugs are there in the market to slow the progression of the disease, but none to reverse the disease entirely. But these drugs are very hard to access, so it's important to know how non-medical ways to properly prevent and cope with the disease. So when you have Alzheimer's, there's 4 major stages. It starts building in preclinical stage, where these proteins are starting to build up in your brain, and for 10-15 years before you have Alzheimer's, you won't realize because it's asymptomatic. But your memory loss starts showing in the mild stage of Alzheimer's, and it turns to moderate and severe later on. Alzheimer's progression is usually in 8 to 10 years on average, though in countries where people have learned to properly prevent and have the good cultural and social norms to cope with the disease, it goes up to 20 years. Thus, it's important to know the proper non-medical ways of preventing and treating Alzheimer's, so it won't be as traumatizing when you or a family member gets the disease, and you'll have a less susceptibility to the disease as well. So let me clear a common misconception about Alzheimer's disease. It is not contagious. If a family member gets it and you stay and care for them, you are not going to get Alzheimer's. But there are certain genetic and dietary as well as social predispositions to Alzheimer's. Some races have a higher predisposition to Alzheimer's, such as Hispanics, Spanish-speaking people, as well as Africans. Asian people and white people have a less predisposition to Alzheimer's, and a lot of this is attributable to diet. Diet is extremely important to have. A good diet is extremely important to have if you want to cope with Alzheimer's and prevent Alzheimer's disease. So what is there in a good diet to prevent Alzheimer's disease? Well, of course, fruits and vegetables, but studies have shown that omega-3 fatty acids, such as those you find in fish, are extremely important to include in a diet in order to prevent Alzheimer's, as well as properly cope with Alzheimer's and decrease the predisposition. The reason being, Alzheimer's affects the brain, but the two parts of the body that have a huge impact on brain health are with the heart and are with the gut, the stomach. So a good diet helps have a healthy gut and a healthy heart, and thus have a healthy brain. Since Alzheimer's is a neurodegenerative disease, it's going to weaken the neuronal connections in your brain, and thus strengthening these through a good diet, but other things which I'll cover will decrease your predisposition to the disease. Another thing to have, which is extremely important, is good cardiovascular, which is heart health. And this can be done through fitness and exercise, which you guys are all doing here while walking, which is great. But as well as trying to alleviate stress in daily life and certain illnesses, mental illnesses such as depression, that decrease your brain health as well as decrease your heart health. Avoiding things like smoking and obesity and these unhealthy habits are extremely good for decreasing dementia prevalence. The country with the highest rate of people living with dementia and living longest is Japan. And the reason being, they have, let me actually do a quote here. There are differences in level of exposure to cerebrovascular and cardiovascular, which is brain and heart risk factors like hypertension, smoking, and obesity and diabetes is less than in your average country. And this causes people with Alzheimer's to live up to 20 years, which is twice the average. And there's other things you can do to non-medically to help treat and prevent Alzheimer's. One example is with cognitive stimulation and putting yourself out there socially. This can be done by, for playing games with friends, which not only increases your brain power, but also socially increases your mood. Thus, cultures where where seniors tend to go out and about and play games with their friends and are less socially isolated, live longer with Alzheimer's disease, and are less people get Alzheimer's disease. Such examples of these countries are European countries with cultures of this, such as Netherlands and Sweden. On top of this, social engagement and social support is extremely important. If you have a family member that is suffering with dementia or Alzheimer's, it's extremely important to care for them. This not only increases their mood, but also is clinically proven that care and support for people suffering with Alzheimer's disease has lengthened their lifespan with the disease. Finally, there's a bunch of exercises and therapies you can do while you have Alzheimer's to increase your lifespan with the disease. One example is with yoga that's been clinically proven. The best one. That's been clinically proven to increase your lifespan with the disease. But on top of that, music is also magical in its effects with people with dementia. People with dementia in their late stages have forgotten mostly everything. But there's been studies that have shown when you play a song from their childhood, that they remember it clearly and their mood heightens immensely. So music therapy and engaging and listening with music, while that could be creatively expressing yourself and playing music or listening to music, has actually shown to increase your lifespan if you've had dementia or Alzheimer's disease causing dementia.
More happiness in them.
Exactly, creates more happiness. So music, exercise such as with yoga, and a good diet are not just important, but almost necessary if you want to survive longer with Alzheimer's disease and decrease the predisposition to Alzheimer's disease.
Memory food also is there.
Exactly, yes. So games like memory games and games you play with your friends, such as chess or card games and stuff that increase cognitive stimulation is important. And the most important thing is getting yourself out there. If your loved one has Alzheimer's or dementia, don't lock them up in a room. But make them go and force them to go out and about and interact with friends and fellow seniors so that they don't fall into that traumatic pattern that is caused by the disease. So finally, let me just end with some common symptoms of Alzheimer's and how you can identify Alzheimer's and dementia. So the main thing with Alzheimer's is that it mostly affects people 65 years or older, which are seniors. And the main symptom is with memory loss. But this doesn't have to only be the case, because not just memory loss, but commonly some common symptoms are with a lack of judgment and a loss of judgment, and misplacing items, as well as mood changes and mood shifts, which are telltale signs of the disease. If you think you have this disease or a loved one has the disease, go contact your local doctor, as there are many things, many ways they can tell through their own CET and MRI scans that can tell that can detect these proteins in the brain and tell if you have Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. And it's important to know what type of dementia you have so that you can properly treat the disease if you have access to these drugs and treatments. So once again, thank you for listening to my speech, and I want to bring it to the eminent doctors panel to share their thoughts and perspectives. So once again, thank you.
Hello. Now I request Dr. Jagadish, a well-known neurologist from Sri Sri Holistic Hospital, to speak a few words on dementia. Dr. Subbarao also, I request him to come on the dais.
I would like to introduce Dr. Jagadish Annapureddy, who is an international neurologist in our hospital, Sri Sri Holistic Hospital. He was trained in very premier institutes like NIMHANS and Breach Candy Hospital. He got vast experience about this, and he will enlighten us about this condition. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So thank you for the kind introduction, sir. Actually, Mr. Rohan has briefly spoken regarding this Alzheimer's disease. I don't know whether to speak in English or Telugu, which will be comfortable. I will try to.
You can mix both, sir.
పర్వాలేదు, ఏదైనా పర్వాలేదు, తెలుగు అయినా సరే, ఇంగ్లీష్ అయినా సరే. I try to keep it brief. I'll try to keep it brief. Basically, I don't know that is regarding the awareness, Alzheimer's disease awareness. It's a nice initiative to bring awareness regarding this dementia or the Alzheimer's disease. Why? Because this Alzheimer's disease, as the age progresses, as it increases from 50 to 60, and decade after decade, the percentage of the public or the people which are affected with the dementia or especially Alzheimer's disease goes on increasing. It is after 80, if you take it, is almost 1/3 of the population can be affected with Alzheimer's dementia. So that is a huge burden which we need really to be catered up. So అందుకని వీటన్నిటిలో మెయిన్ ఏంటంటే ఆల్జీమర్స్ మోస్ట్ కామన్ వెరైటీ ఆఫ్ డిమెన్షియా. ఇది కాకుండా రోహన్ చెప్పినట్టు చాలా రకాల డిమెన్షియాస్ ఉన్నాయి, కానీ ఆల్జీమర్స్ కామన్. ఇట్స్ అన్ అంబ్రెల్లా టర్మ్. డిమెన్షియా ఇస్ అన్ అంబ్రెల్లా టర్మ్. డిమెన్షియా అంటే ది లాస్ ఆఫ్ మెంటిస్, అంటే యు ఆర్ నాట్ ఏబుల్ టు వర్క్, లాస్ ఆఫ్ మెంటల్ ఎబిలిటీ. దిస్ వర్డ్ వాస్ కాయిన్డ్ లాంగ్ బ్యాక్. ఇనిషియల్లీ డిమెన్షియా అంటే ఒక సైకియాట్రిక్ ఇష్యూ అని చెప్పి అనుకొని అలా కాయిన్ చేశారు, బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ లైక్ దట్. కొన్ని సైకియాట్రిక్ ఫీచర్స్ కూడా ఉండొచ్చు యాజ్ డిసీజ్ ప్రోగ్రెసెస్ టు ద లేట్ టర్మ్, బట్ ఇనీషియల్గా స్టార్ట్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు వేరే వేరే లక్షణాలు ఉంటాయి. ఒకసారి అంటే నదులన్నీ ఎక్కడెక్కడో మొదలయ్యి సముద్రంలో కలిసినట్టు స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పుడు సిమ్టమ్స్ వేరే ఉన్నా సరే ఎండ్ స్టేజ్లోకి వచ్చేసరికి డిమెన్షియా అన్నీ ఒకేలాగా ఉంటాయి. సో ముందు ఎలా మొదలయ్యింది అన్నది గుర్తించడం ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎందుకు ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే